The Rode Vidoemic NTG, a legendary microphone for content creators when it was first released. But is this the microphone we'd still use today, or is this just a remnant of the past? Alright, so upon its release in November 2019, this was the microphone. When you thought of professional audio with a short shotgun microphone for content creators that weren't like on movie sets, this was it. The Rode Vidoemic NTG was feature-packed, lightweight, user-friendly, tons of features. It was the bee's knees. But in today's age, with all the different wireless microphones, all the cheap options, 32-bit float, is this really worth it? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through all the controls, all the different applications you can use in this microphone, like in the different settings, and talk about the good and the bad of this one. And at the end of it, you're going to figure out, is this microphone really worth it in today's time? Or is it one of those ones that's just, it was good for what it was, but now it's not relevant? We're about to find out. So let's go ahead and run through the Rode Vidoemic NTG and see if this microphone still stands up to today's age. All right, so here's the microphone. So we'll go from the back to the front of this to kind of show you what the controls are and kind of explain them as we go. So starting from the back, this is the gain knob. This was really revolutionary at its time because this was a gain knob that actually had numbers. Before that, it was just kind of symbols. So people really got pretty upset when you would try to set it. You couldn't really remember. You'd have to like memorize the turn knobs. And this was like with the D&D ones. That was really popular before this one. Then you have the audio, then you have the power button. The power button is pretty cool because it has the basic color coordinated of green, yellow, and red. So green, it's fully powered or pretty charged, yellow, halfway charged, and then you have red, which means it's going to be dying soon. It has about 30 hours of battery life. We'll get to more of the specs as we go through. Going to the sides. This has a USB-C. This can be used for charging as well as a audio interface for a USB-C microphone. Records at 48 kilohertz at 24-bit, which means that it's studio quality. Coming up to this part, we have a 20 decibel pad as well as a stereo for both regular recording and a 20 dB, and then a clipping meter showing that is when it's becoming above the amount that you get at. Then when it comes, you have two high pass filters, one at 75 hertz, one at 150, and then one high boost to use when you have a windscreen on it. On the side, you have a 3.5 millimeter jack, that a headphone jack for both using the cameras, and it actually can recognize as if it was TRS or TRRS, which means this microphone was crazy advanced during its time, being able to do all that stuff. The other thing to note is when you have it in USB-C mode, this part for the gain knob does not activate, so you actually have to use one of the applications to it, like one of the Rode apps or the Rode Control, which would give it its ability to control the volume from it, but you lose the ability. When you use the headphone jack, you can use this one all you want because it's an analog signal being able to come out. The other thing to note is if you're going to be using like a 3.5 to USB-C for your phone or any other application, you will have to figure out what your phone records at for its bit depth, because it can go as low as 16-bit, which you will be able to use the gain knob, but you will lose a little bit of quality. So that's something to note. And then here is these little spot things. What this is called an interference tube. So what this does, it utilizes out-of-phase technology, kind of. This is a short shotgun microphone, so the interference tube is not very long. And you can kind of see a little bit in the light. What that is that's where the capsule is. So it kind of eliminates a little bit of the sound. And then here's the front of the microphone itself. So that is pretty much it. It's pretty advanced for all the features it has in it. And it is one of those ones that came with a lot of feature packed. I feel like this is pretty advanced. It's very lightweight, and it has quite a bit of features to it. So let's go ahead and go through some of the specs on this thing so you can really kind of get a feel for what it has on it. So this is a has a super cardioid polar pattern. What that means is it's a very narrow polar pattern. Uh, Narrow polar patterns aren't necessarily the best or worst. It just means it does a better job of picking up the sides. It's kind of a tight heart-shaped pattern. The frequency response of this thing is 35 hertz to 18 kilohertz. That is really good for this particular microphone because this is meant for voice. So 20 to 20 isn't really necessary. And the reason it's not necessary is because if you have a microphone that is 20 to 20, you're going to be picking up frequencies that really the human voice will not go that high. So the 35 to 18K really helps out. This has a max SPL level of 120 decibels. In my experience, that's not the case. I feel like it does maybe 100. So I've used this in some louder settings and it's kind of distorted a little bit. So if you use the 20 decibel pad, it's pretty good with a lot of things. But as far as going above that, I don't know. I would say, you know, it's kind of, if, you know, anyways, moving on. So another thing is the signal to noise ratio is 29 decibels. So BA. So it does have a little bit of noise to it. It isn't the worst. It isn't the best. So it is decent, I guess. When you're going to be using this is primarily used for like outside and different applications. You can use it in studio as well, but it does have a little bit of signal to noise ratio. So if you're going to be using this in a studio, you probably may have to do some editing depending on how much noise and treatment you have in your room. Sensitivity is negative 26. So that's not the most sensitive, not the worst. I think it's pretty okay. Its impedance is going to be 10 ohms. The high pass filter, like I said, it was 75 to 150, which is pretty good. That has two sets of high pass ones. Those are really good, especially for getting rid of that low end rumble with wind noise if you're going to be using this outside, as well as using this, in if you're going to be like recording like things where there's going to be concerts at where you might have that really low bass rumble. So you might actually hit on the 150. That would be a very usable thing. So that way you're not having this rattling, really bassy frequencies in there. But the other thing that helps out with that is it only goes at 35 hertz. So it does eliminate more sub bass. Its battery is an internal charging lithium ion battery. It says it has 30 plus hours. I mean, I've gotten probably 20, 25 hours out of this. But since this is one of the main primary uses for this is on a camera because it will charge if you use the USB-C with your phone. If you've ever used cameras before, this thing definitely is going to outlast your camera, all its batteries. If you're going to be filming with cameras for 30 hours straight, like that's pretty insane for like using a handheld Sony Lumix and like one of those type of cameras. Like that's pretty crazy. It says that USB-C charges in 2 hours. I mean, I didn't really, I've never timed it, but that's probably accurate. The audio on and off is really cool with that because it, like I said, it can take it can take TRS and TRRS jacks, so it's really smart to recognize that. When you have it plugged into your camera, it will auto turn off and on. In my experience, there's been a few times where it didn't do that, so it's a tiny bit hit or miss. 90% of the time it does, but there was like a 10 to 20% time where it wouldn't turn off itself. So, that could be, I could have got an issue with it. Who knows? But just be aware of that. I always double check to make sure it does turn off. The built-in 20 or 24-bit and 28 kilohertz is pretty good. That's studio quality standard for video. Um, if you're going to be using the 3.5 headphone jack with the USB-C as zero latency monitoring, the big quirk that I've seen in this microphone is when you're using the USB-C and using a headphone jack with it, you can actually hear computer audio and use this to talk to people. The problem is you have to use this control here to turn up the volume, and it turns everybody else up. You actually cannot separate the audio from your computer. So if you're going to be turning up everybody else, and you want to hear yourself more, you're also going to be turning up like everything. There's no thing where it just turns up your own voice and then keeps everybody else down. It turns up the computer audio as well as your audio from the microphone. So I wouldn't say it's unusable, but it definitely is a bit of a pain if you're trying to use this for like Discord or something while talking to friends, or a meeting, or on Teams or Skype, or if even people still use Skype, or Zoom. So just be aware that's you'll be getting that, and when you start turning up the gain knob, you'll be hearing more background noise. So, and it has that signal to noise ratio of 79 decibels. So you will start to introduce noise that will constantly be going. So it's a bit distracting. And let's see, it is made of a lightweight aluminum body, but it does have shielding in it for RF interference. So the radio and well as wireless interference to it, it really does block it out. I have had zero issues with that, which is amazing. Like my Comica NB10 Pro, there were times where I would get some signal to noise issues with that. That kind of sucks. This completely eliminates that. So I would say that this microphone is superior in that aspect, is you'll never get an issue with it. And like I said before, this is super lightweight. It's 94 grams. It weighs essentially nothing. I mean, you will not get tired. And if you're using this on a camera, it will not. The weight to it is very, very negligible. It comes with this Ryko shock mount, which is a really high-end shock mount if you've ever used it before. So it won't have any handling noise with it. So handling noise is where if you ever hear somebody grabbing a microphone or adjusting it, that's one of those ones that basically it will make a rattling noise. It also comes with a 3.5 to 3.5 jacks, as well as uh, a USB-C one. The USB-C one's really tiny, but the cool thing about it is these little controls right here, it actually slips through and can actually cable manage those. The other ones are curly cable, so that doesn't really make a difference. And it comes with a little windscreen. So the windscreen, I will say, is not that great in the sense that it works in the studio, but it does not work anywhere else besides there. You can buy a dead cap for it, which I did, but that's extra money on that. This retails, I think, for like $250. If you were to buy it new, you can buy these used. I've seen for as low as $100, which is a steal. The downside is if you buy it used, you can't get a warranty. This thing has a 10-year warranty, and I've worked with Rode before in replacing products. If you were to get the 10-year warranty on this, I mean, 10 years, I would suggest to buy it new. The reason why is because it has an internal battery, and this was a big gripe for a lot of people. The internal battery basically means that at some point in time, a battery does eventually go out, but having that 10-year window really kind of helps with it. It starts to lose its charge. You could replace it. Now they're really good with their return and replacement products. So I would say getting this, and I mean, 10 years use out of that, I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, 10 years for $250. And then if it does go out anywhere in between then you will get a new one, and then you can get another 10 years. So I would say the only other kind of gripe, it is a short shotgun microphone. So it's short, but it's still like long-ish. So using this with your phone or something is a little bit long. Like, let me go ahead. So this is it compared to a phone size. So as you can see here, it's about the length of the phone. So when you're going to be using this, it is going to be a little bit noticeable, but it will give you better audio, especially when you get, up close to people. It gives you that proximity effect. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So what I'm going to do is actually, let's go ahead and see how this bad boy sounds. So we've looked at it. So let's go ahead, and that's going to be really the most important part of this is really seeing how it sounds. So, but yeah, that's all the controls on the microphone itself and all the kind of things you need to know about it. Alrighty, so here's what the microphone sounds like. So this is it kind of how it looks on camera. So I have it a little bit adjusted on my low profile boom arm. So as you can see, I'm pretty close to the microphone. Use my IEMs to monitor it through the 3.5 out. As I turn up this, you'll see how there is no difference in the volume when I'm turning it up. So for me though, I can actually hear the volume of it turning up. So, but you will not. Another thing people complain about is that when you adjust things on it, it will actually, it will make a different sound. So here's the 75 hertz. You shouldn't hear much difference in my voice. You might hear a tiny bit at the low end, but not very much. Here is the 150. 150 will hear a lot of bass being cut off in it. And then you have to hold it a little bit longer, and then when you hold it longer, you'll get that high boost. Now my voice should sound a lot more articulate. But the cool thing is you can also add both of them in conjunction. So right now I have the high boost on and the low pass filter on at 75. And you can also do it. This basically should eliminate all sound out of my voice. It should be really high, so I get that high end as well as all the low cut out. So this isn't very usable to me. And then there it is at regular. Here's what it sounds like with a 20 decibel pad on. Here's what it sounds like with the stereo. You shouldn't be able to hear any because I'm recording at mono right now, so you shouldn't have any difference. And then there it is at the lower end one, and then back at nothing. So that's kind of all the controls on it. This is what it sounds like with the windscreen on. And here's what it sounds like with nothing on. So other thing to test is the plosive. So that's the plosives right there. You don't want to do that. Here's with the windscreen. So it does help a lot with plosives, especially if you're going to be close micing it. And here's what it sounds like with a proximity effect. And here's what it sounds like a little bit farther away. My room's pretty well treated, so you wouldn't hear a lot of ambient noise. We'll be testing this a few different other settings, but yeah, this is what it sounds like. It's really good looking on video. I think that a lot of people can use this as a USB-C microphone, and it will sound great. The only thing that kind of sucks is if you're going to be monitoring the audio. Like I said, when you're turning up the gain knob, you're also turning up the computer audio, which makes it a little bit of a hassle because it's kind of annoying in the sense that you'll be hearing everybody talk louder amongst yourself, and you'll be hearing the background noise raise up. So if you have other stuff going on in the background, you'll be able to hear it, as well as that self noise raising up the noise floor. But yeah, this is what it sounds like. You would be using the Rode, let me see, what is it called again? So if you go on Rode's website, I'll link in the description below, the Rode Central app. That will actually be able to adjust volume, and you can control all the physical controls on this thing if you don't want to through your computer. It's a little bit redundant, but a lot of people, like I said, have some complaints with touching the noise and it making this sound. So that might be one where you might want to actually use that or not. And you can see the shock. So if you're tapping on it, the shock works really well, the shock mount. It has a weird, it's a in between like the normal standard one for a microphone, so it's kind of weird. Yeah, I had to use like a weird little janky setup to kind of get it mounted on, but I'm sure you do some Googling, you'll figure it out. The attachments aren't that much. Yeah, that's about it in a controlled setting. Some people will actually boom it up overhead, like how I have my SE Electronics SE8 that went at the beginning of the video. It works, but since it's a short shotgun microphone, with a super cardioid polar pattern, you have to be very careful and sit very still if you're going to do that. Because of that narrow pattern, if you move any bit off, as you can see when I'm moving off here, as well as moving around to the sides here and back, it really cuts off a lot. So it does a good job with projecting noise, but at the same time, if you're a person that likes to move around and forth, it's really going to affect your ability to record things. So just be aware of that. It does do well though if you're going to be using that. If you're going to be just using this and not using the monitor, it's just a USB-C microphone, it'd be great for that. So yeah, let's go ahead and test this out in a different setting with a camera on, and then we'll do a phone too, and we'll just try to run through all these and really see how it sounds. But yeah, if you like this sound, this is what it sounds like. It's at its highest audio quality at 48-bit for our, was it 24-bit, 48 kilohertz. So yeah, let's go ahead and test this in a more ambient setting. Yeah, so like in a very echoey, not preferable background. All right, so I'm in probably one of the worst settings you can possibly be in. This is one of my bathrooms here. So sorry if I got the camera pretty close to my face. I'm using my lumix camera. I'm only using a 50mm lens because that's what I have on it. So it is what it is. So I got the camera about 2 feet away from me. So this is what the audio sounds like in super echoey space. So it's recording with the internal camera audio. So this is actually not 24-bit. This is at 16-bit recording depth. So it's going to be a little bit less dynamic range. But like I said, when you're using these kind of settings in this setting, it's basically, it is what it is. So some things to think about with this microphone is how it sounds when you get farther away from the microphone. So unlike wireless microphones that are like lobs that will be right here on your shirt, the farther you get away, the more ambience you'll see. Now it's going to start sounding ridiculously echoey because it is now, 5 feet away from me. But now as I get closer, you'll start to see maybe it's eliminating some of that that noise. So, but it still kind of has that echoey. Again, you can also see it drops off a lot on the sides as well as you come in over here to the other side. So, but pretty much this is going to be the worst setting you could have a microphone in. This short shotgun microphone. So this is just giving you an illustration of what you're going to do if you're going to be recording in like a straight up hallway. So hopefully that's helpful and that gives you an idea of what it goes. It will be a little bit better than a if you're going to be using like a wireless lav, and the reason why is because this is still a supercardioid microphone, and it's going to still try to pick up more stuff in the front and kind of eliminate that. The interference tubes though are going to still be kind of sucky. But yeah, let's go ahead and test this out in a couple different other settings. But yeah, this is what it sounds like in the worst acoustic place I can figure out in my house. All right, here I am on my phone. So this is just the phone's audio. Normally people record using their phones. This is what it sounds like if you're going to be using a phone audio in the bathroom. It's going to sound relatively the same for the 16-bit versus 24-bit. If you're using such a bad recording space, the audio is not going to be much better, but it is better, as you can hear, with there's a little less reverb because these are stereo microphones, so it's going to be bouncing off and on the walls. So let me test out one more thing. I'm going to be using a wireless Go 2 and show you what it sounds like with the omnidirectional and see if it gets a better sound or not compared to the Videomic NTG. All right, and here I have the wireless Go 2. So this is a popular microphone. It was like the most popular one to be using back before the DJI came out. So this is what it sounds like in a really bad setting using my camera. I'm not going to use the camera's regular audio because it always sounds terrible no matter how good you have it. This is what it sounds like when it's like up close to my mouth, like how they'll have it on TikToks. So the good thing about this is like it doesn't matter how far away you get for the camera, it's not going to make a difference. It's going to be the same length away. So yeah, that's a comparison between the two. So hopefully that gives you a good idea what it sounds like in a very bad setting of a bathroom with a lot of reverb, a lot of hard surfaces. All right, and here I am in my car. So this is another really popular setting to have it at. You will hear it does sound a little bit boxy sounding, not too much because the microphone's pretty close to me, so it eliminates a lot of sound, but I am literally in a box. So yeah, this is what it sounds like on the phone in a very boxy setting. So we'll compare this to your my phone's audio. But yeah, this is a pretty popular setting, so that's why I wanted to kind of give it a comparison. So yeah, this is what the Rode Vidoemic NTG sounds like in your car, about 6 inches from my mouth. All right, just to give you guys a quick comparison, this is what the phone sounds like with the audio coming from my phone. Since the the mics are physically farther away. I would say this is about probably 12 inches, 12 and a half inches away from my mouth. Yeah, so that's what your phone sounds like in a car. Sounds more, probably you hear more boxiness of it, I would imagine, because that's how it is. You're in a box, you're in a car. Okay, just because I want to be super thorough, I have here the Rode Wireless Go 2. It's a wireless lav system, very popular, was kind of like the forefather of really for the DJI and the more popular other versions come out. So this is really still usable gold standard. It's a 24-bit, 48 kilohertz recording lav system. So yeah, this is what it sounds like when it's right underneath where you traditionally use it. If I take it off here and then use it like how Instagram, TikTokers use it, this is how it sounds. So this is in a very popular setting where people would use this in their car. So yeah, let's go ahead and switch to the camera and kind of see how it sounds with lower bit depth with using the microphone and its internal, and then the internal audio in the camera. Right, and to give you guys a comparison, this is on the camera here. Obviously, it's closer because it's using a closer lens, but this is going to be the camera with the Rode Vidoemic NTG. So this is using the microphone. It's about I don't know, 7 inches from my mouth. So that is giving a comparison between the audio being a little bit lower quality at 16-bit. So this is again in my car. Let's go ahead and compare it to the actual camera audio, and there should be a difference, but yeah, we'll see if there's a difference or not. And here is the camera's audio. It's on auto, so it should be tracking. It has like a bunch of microphones in it. They say it's supposed to be like a better system. I doubt it. So it's kind of stereo microphones, kind of picks up wherever. Yeah, this is what it sounds like recording at 16-bit, I believe 48 kilohertz, so lower bit depth, but not the best condition. So really you shouldn't hear much of a difference, but just giving you a comparison for lower bit depths. All right, because I'm super thorough and kind of annoying, this is how the Rode Video Mic NTG sounds like when you're driving. So obviously you will have some stuff going on. I have it mounted like with a car type mount when you're driving, so that way, don't worry, I'm not holding the phone while driving, so you don't have to worry about that. Here's with the windows rolled down a little bit, so just to give you some wind experience with that as well. So this is what it sounds like with windows down. We'll go back up, and then this is kind of what it sounds like when you're driving in a car. So has some other rumbling noises. So one thing that you could do when you're driving in a car like this is you throw on the 75 hertz high pass filter, and it will actually help eliminate that little rumble that you'll get from like the engine and you revving it while you're driving. So yeah, that's what it sounds like. Let's go ahead and switch to my phone and see how it sounds when I'm driving just with the phone's audio. All right, and now I'm driving with just the phone's audio. So this is what it sounds like. Yeah, so driving stereo microphones. Here's the window rolled down. I'm not driving, just driving on the side street, so not anything too crazy on the freeway. You will hear a lot more low rumble and a lot more sound, obviously, on the freeway because it's more wind, and obviously if you were to be driving with that. But yeah, so that's what it sounds like. Again, you'll hear probably more low rumble, more boxiness because it's stereo microphone. So yeah, that's what it sounds like with the phone. So let's go ahead and go back and kind of figure out what all this means. Is it good, bad? So yeah, that's what it sounds like. All right, and one last thing before we call this good and figure out all the tests. So this is with the Rode Wireless Go 2 using the phone. Obviously recording at 24-bit, 48 kilohertz. This is with the windows rolled down. I don't have the little windscreen on it. It's directly below me, so this is really giving a feel for what it sounds like. Might hear some wind coming for there. So it should sound better than the phone's microphone because it's physically closer to me. Again, there should be a little low-end rumble from like the engine of the car and stuff. So this doesn't have any high-pass filters or anything, but it's a very good comparison because this is there's no obstructing, no really anything going on. A lot of people like that because it's consistent in one spot. So yeah, that's just giving you guys a comparison of what the phone would sound like using a wireless system compared to the Rode Vidoemic NTG. All right, and to give you a illustration, this is what it sounds like with just the camera's audio. So is it great? No. So they say this camera, it's the Lumix G100. They say it has like this cool Nokia audio that has different mics, but it's really not that good. But yeah, here's just giving you an example. No windscreen, no nothing. This is what it sounds like out in the world. Okay, so here's the microphone right now. This is recording at 16-bit outside. There's like a small slight breeze going on. This is how like a more professional vlogging setup with a camera on it. Because it's an internal camera, it is recording at 16-bit. Newer cameras have 24 or even 32, so if you're using this analog one, you might get better or worse audio quality. This doesn't really have, I did not turn the inline stabilization on this camera because it's just a cheaper, older camera. But yeah, this is what it would sound like. Slight breeze going on, no filters or anything. Let me go ahead and show you what it would sound like if you use the high pass filter. So here we are with the high pass filter. This will actually help eliminate some of the noise that you would be experiencing. So yeah, that's what it sounds like with the high pass filter on. This would probably be more of an optimal setting for it. If you have the dead cat on, you would then put the high boost on with probably the low shelf to kind of give it. You can hear not a lot of ambient noise going on. It's actually really good for vlogging purposes like this. So yeah, let's go ahead and switch to my phone and see how it sounds with a little bit higher quality of 24-bit and just a different look to see if you can hear any different in the way it sounds. Okay, and just for comparison, this is my phone's audio. This is, I believe it has a stereo one on both sides of it, so this is what it sounds like with my phone's audio. So since it is stereo, it should be there should be a lot more going on. There's no real breeze, but yeah, this is what it sounds like just with a phone's audio. All right, so I'm using the Shure Motive app. I had to adjust the volume on my on the Rode Record app. So on this, I think reporting app is what it's called. So what this does is it was able to lower the volume on it because it was a little hot coming in, distorted. This is what it sounds like with a little higher quality at 48-bit, 48 kilohertz. There is an adjustment on the Ryko shock mount. I had to push it all the way back because the windscreen was sticking out a little in actually my camera. So that's one thing to note, because this microphone is a little bit longer, you will have to push it back a little bit or else you'll get it in frame. But yeah, this is what it sounds like at higher quality. Let's go ahead and, so I had the 75 hertz high pass filter on to kind of get rid of any wind low rumble, but here's what it sounds like with nothing on. This is a microphone with a phone using a more higher quality bit depth app. So that is that's about it. I can't really say anything more than that. Yeah, so let's go ahead and go back and kind of show what it looks like for the setups that I had going on. Okay, so you guys kind of saw how the microphone sounded compared to the wireless Go 2, but if you have both, fear not, because you can use them together like I have right above here. So you can see it right here. It's out of frame. I can actually pop it up a little bit more. Ooh, and there we go, just out of frame. So I'm using the wireless Go 2. You can use it either with your audio interface. You need an XLR like adapter to 3.5, which I'm using. You can buy that with Rode. But if you don't want to do that, you can literally use an audio interface, plug the microphone in there, and now you got a wireless boom microphone. So this is kind of what it sounds like if you're going to be using them together. In fact, they were made to be used together. Like they had it with the idea that you could use this microphone as a boom arm if you so intended to. So this is just another small application. If you have the gear and you have a wireless microphone with a 3.5 plug-in and you're like, well, hey, I got a couple extra people or I got a boom arm, let's go and use it. This is what it would sound like to use. So yeah, let me go back to my main overhead microphone and then let's go ahead and get to the conclusion of this and kind of see what my final thoughts are on it. All right, so we finally made it. So basically I ran this thing through everything I can think of. This is how I kind of had it with the phone. It is yeah, it's a pretty usual. It looks pretty professional sounding. I used a cable. It has a cool little cable management here, and it can actually fit in these little spots here for the cable management. As far as the camera goes, they have a little hot shoe mount on it, and it's the same kind of story with it. It would basically just be like this. So you can see and that's your stereotypical camera thing that you'd see on a camera. So yeah, that's basically the setup I had going on with it when I was recording using both the camera and the phone. So what can I say about this thing though, for you guys to want it or not want it? So I would say that this thing is very good for people that want to run and gun shoot using like a camera, for example. If you're doing documentary filmmaking where you're going to be filming people that you don't quite know in different settings, or it's going to be different people like backstage, it's a run and gun shooting. It would be really great for something like that. It would, because you don't have subjects that are lobbed up, so you can kind of narrow and get audio right off the bat and get good quality audio with more less interference. The other reason why I would say is if you're really, for me personally, being a audio guy, I like to have very clean audio, and as much as I can have less distractions. But some people like having like more, like using a wireless system here. The reason why is because they kind of like the fact that they get more surrounding. It kind of is more immersive. It's more of a creative option for some people, but for me personally, I like to have the best, cleanest audio for my subject with least distractions. Um, when it comes to a phone, if I was going to be using a phone with this, I'd probably honestly go with the wireless system. If you're primarily shooting content on your phone, like the iPhones and stuff, they're really good now. I probably wouldn't use the wireless go or the I'd use the wireless Go 2 instead of the Videomic NTG, just because the size comparison, it's just too big, and it makes people a little more uncomfortable in my experience. People don't like you filming with this big thing. People get uncomfortable when they see a big microphone. The Rode Wireless Go 2 is a lot more less conspicuous than this thing when you're filming on it. That's one reason. The other reason is really because you have you don't have mic discipline. The other thing with this microphone here is you have to have mic discipline. You have to have it in front of you like this when you're talking to when you're talking to it. If you don't have that discipline, then what happens is when you turn off to the side or that way or from behind, you lose a lot of that quality because this has such a tight pattern picking up in the front and eliminates a lot on the sides. It's going to make it difficult for somebody to be able to get consistent, good quality audio sounding. So because of that, a wireless lob system, it's omnidirectional. It fit there, and so the audio is not going to drop off if you're turning your head. So you don't have to have very good mic discipline. So I would say that wireless systems kind of beat this one when you're looking at your DJIs or your other wireless systems or the Hollyland, Sony, whatever wireless system you're going to go with, Sennheiser, your omnidirectional microphone will really work in most subjects, and don't have to worry about how close or far you are away from the camera. This, though, I still think it is comparable, like I said, for two things. For if you're a content creator looking for that are running and gunning, shooting, you're going to be filming multiple people, no particular person, so you don't have time to mic them up with a lav. That's going to be one. The other one is talking head videos. If you're going to be sitting down in a setting like this, having it boomed overhead or right in front on your camera, like right here, this is perfectly great for those two things. Anything else, though, for content creating, unless you're going to be having a third person or you have one person that's filming you, one person that has a wireless system and a boomed arm, and then you have yourself, really, this thing, unfortunately, I don't think it's relevant in today's time for anything else besides talking head and running and shooting videos where you're going to be filming multiple subjects, or you're going to be talking to and interviewing whoever without having to have time to set up to put a wireless system. So is this worth it or not worth it? I still think so. Its audio quality is great. It still has it has supposed to have a roll-off bass, but it has a really good bass feeling. It has pretty low with like reserve mids, and then its top end is cuts off a little bit, but it's fine. It has a great sound. It would be good for podcasting as well. It would be good for booming overhead, and it'd be good for talking head and running, gutting, shooting. But for general content creating, I do think that unfortunately wireless systems have kind of taken a turn and kind of have a one up on this thing. But yeah, that's it. If you have any thoughts, comments, questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help. And yeah, hopefully this was educational and it made you figure if you want one of these or not. Hopefully this swayed you one way or the other. So yeah, thanks for watching.